One thing you got to watch out for when you are watering your little seed trays is watering too much. I think sometimes there is the tendency to overwater simply because you think water is necessary, which of course is true. But sometimes having too much water, like anything else in life, is a bad thing. So in this case, if you have a bottom tray and you want to make sure it's in the sun so it always has proper watering, the problem is, at times, is that the water itself just is retained in the soil and it just becomes moist and doesn't dry out. You need to dry out because if it's moist all the time, it does support an environment that you can have fungal diseases and you can have stems that are sensitive to that and then ultimately cause the seedling to die. The other thing is sometimes you will notice that some of the plants look more yellow than anything. These are pepper plants, so you do see some yellowing. They are kind of the initial leaves, so it's not surprising to see that. But overall, these used to be a deep green, but we can see, hopefully you can see, it's not as deep, and maybe there is a slight yellowing of the leaves. And that's just simply because water was in this too long, and the plugs themselves absorbed the water, but never were able to kind of use up that water because they were constantly saturated in it. And it causes the roots at times to swell and impede the absorption of key nutrients that then allow for the plant to thrive. So if you do have a bottom tray, although it can be useful and convenient to always have water, you don't have to come back and keep watering these things because they can dry out quite readily. But sometimes if there's not an environment to get rid of that water, the plants will just be saturated in the water and it can cause fungal diseases. And sometimes you can see yellowing of everything, and that's simply because you're providing an environment that's impeding key nutrients to be absorbed for the root system, would then restrict access for the plant to use them. So if you see yellowing of your little seedlings, it's most likely because you're not watering, it's because you're overwatering. And so you want to have a nice balance between that. Always look for the top of the soil to be dried out to stop the growth of the fungal diseases, but to put your finger into the plug and kind of see where the saturation level is, and as long as it's somewhat close to the top, you'll be in good shape.